Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillor Helen Price cannot be here tonight and has asked me to read out her speech. In my ward of Clewer and Edworth East, residents are living in severe deprivation. Residents who cannot afford both heating and eating. I've been putting my energy into seeking out sources of financial support and alerting residents to try and prevent these families going hungry or being cold. In addition, for some months, I have been lobbying for more support for our residents who are facing the cost of living crisis. And we're all well aware that more and more of our families are going to be adversely affected. I therefore welcome the announcement at Cabinet earlier this month that a group has been set up to address how such residents can be reached and supported. Whilst I would have preferred that residents on the council tax reduction scheme would not be facing doubling of their council tax next year, a decision made by this council 2 years ago, I have been assured that those facing extreme hardship due to this increase and the cost of living crisis will receive financial support. The written responses from community groups are now available, but were not at the Cabinet meeting when I asked questions on the budget. How are the points raised by the community groups being addressed? To take just one, the newly formed Youth Council, which has produced a well-considered response. It asked about home to school, transport, libraries, the climate partnership, youth voice, youth choice, therapy services and the greatest concern, street lighting, and yet none of this was addressed by Cabinet. So are their concerns going to be ignored or considered at this meeting? Helen, thank you.
Thank you.
Now me. After 14 years of hurt, this borough deserves better. A recent flyer through my door from the Conservatives described how they've been keeping council tax low for 14 years. Why do they keep blowing this rusty old trumpet? From my point of view, the budget should not be used to play games, but invariably it is. Show your alternative budget is another broken record we hear from the Tories as Cabinet agrees to commit to spending money they don't even know they've got yet. In 2018, after years of Tory mismanagement of funds, RBWM had reserves of 15%. That means 15% of its annual revenue is put to one side in case of emergencies. In comparison, at the same time, Bracknell had 45% and Wokingham 56% put aside for a rainy day. Currently, we have reserves of around 7%, and the only thing keeping the budget out of the red is the promise of an RBWM lottery that will save the day. Even Alexander Devine Children's Hospice couldn't make that work to their advantage, and they have the general public on their side. This is all because the Tories continue to have their heads in the sand post-COVID. While general reserves are down 25% over the last 2 years, they still want to be seen, even after all the evidence to the contrary, to have the lowest council tax outside of London. After 14 years of hurt, this borough deserves better. Stop playing games with our children's future, grow up and take responsibility for your actions. Start working with officers to come up with real money-making ideas that don't involve borrowing millions. The corporate plan talks of creating a borough of opportunity and innovation. The Tories had better start leading by example, or you may find that residents recognise, after 14 years of hurt, this borough deserves better. Most of us in this room recognise you can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. If we were to have perfect pavements and roads, highways would need a budget of around 100 million a year. That's a whole year's income. It's never going to happen. Legally, this council needs a budget in place to be able to operate. RBWM employs hundreds of people, and I'm not going to put their livelihoods at risk or give the Tories the ability to wag their fingers. So I'm minded to vote for this budget, but ask those listening to recognise that after 14 years of hurt, this borough deserves better, and residents need to vote accordingly in May 23. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Booth.